What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the DayDreamer's podcast. I'm your host, Esteban. And if you're new here, as always, welcome. Happy to have you. Let me know if somebody suggested this podcast, brought you over, or you're a complete stranger and you just came across it. Still happy to have you either way. As always, I like to disclaim, this is by no means any sort of professional opinion here. We're here to just talk all things motivation and talk all things entertainment. I'm a big lover of film, television, music, you name it. And just kind of how it reflects some of the real stuff that we all got going on and how we can learn things, grow from, and even heal from watching all forms of entertainment and taking it all in. So also, I got to address the fun elephant in the room, which is this. We're finally becoming a video podcast here, so it's really good to be able to put myself in a position to be more engaged with all of you. You can see my face, and I can somewhat make contact with all of you as well. But either way, very excited to be able to grow this with all of you who have been listening and have been tuning into all the episodes. Also, I've mentioned this before, so I gotta put this out here, as a little teaser that I am gonna have my first guest on pretty soon. So I'm gonna have somebody sitting right next to me, talking it up. In this case, my brother-in-law. He's really my brother in a way. Daniel Embry. We're going to be talking all things Spider-Man, even our relationship, how we got to know each other. Him and my sister have been together for some time now, so we've gotten to really have a really strong relationship and just talk some fun shit too. That's what we're here to do. So really excited for that. That'll be coming out in a couple weeks, especially in anticipation of Spider-Man Brand New Day, the newest installment of the Tom Holland Spider-Man franchise. We're really excited. We're doing a little double date. So it's going to be myself, my girlfriend, and then, of course, my sister and my brother-in-law. So it's going to be a really good time, and we're going to be just, talking all things Spider-Man. We both love and all things Marvel, too. So it'll be a good time. Also, I have to mention this, that, last episode we had just recorded to going into 4th of July weekend, and so now that 4th of July is gone and out the way, for those of you who are spooky season fans, it's officially spooky season. I don't make the rules. It is what it is. And if you think I'm lying, just to kind of put in perspective for those of you who are just listening, I just brought out, I have a little countdown. So as of the recording of this podcast, it is 113 days until Halloween. So for any of you who are Christmas fans, hey, Christmas has its place, but guess what? You got to get to Halloween first. Again, I refuse to let anyone pretend like Halloween is not the priority after the summer is over. So I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I'm a big spooky season guy. I'm also a huge horror movie fan. I became that, especially over, I think like a lot of us, we all kind of had a lot of time to spare during the pandemic. So I really got into watching a lot of different types of horror films, big mainstream, smaller, more independent films, and kind of anything in between. And even some of the cult classics, like there were some of the older horror movies that I hadn't gotten a chance to get into, when I was younger, but still had my share of, getting into some of those. So, I mean, even as a kid, I remember kind of the first introduction I had to scary movies was my uncle, my tío Pablo. He we used to live in a duplex. My parents and I and my sister, we lived in the back house, and then in the front house, my uncle lived there. And we would have sleepovers all the time. I would go over there. He'd watch us my parents were out or whatever. And it was a really fun time because sometimes if it was just me and him, he would always put on all kinds of movies. And I think that's one of the reasons why I got into movies too. Like me and my dad could always sit down and watch a movie like from beginning to end. I was always liked out growing up, but also going over to my uncle's house and him always putting on movies. I remember like he would always especially play like some of the action scenes, like the iconic action scenes in movies, like one of the older Hulk movies with Eric Bana, the scene where he fights like the hulked up dogs. Like that was a really iconic scene we would watch. Matrix Reloaded, or like any of the Matrix movies, really, like some of those action sequences were really dope. For Matrix Reloaded, the scene on the freeway with the ghost twins, that was a really dope thing. But one of the things he would also play was he would put on some scary movies. Like he even had a Michael Myers like jumpsuit that he would terrify my sister with when we were younger. But he had a like full on mask and everything, and he would just sometimes go to his room, like change into it, and then just randomly walk out in it. But yeah, he was a big horror fan as well. And I remember I watched I want to say the original Child's Play, the original Chucky movie at his house for the first time. And I remember it terrified me because I think I've talked about it on the show before, but like Toy Story was my favorite movie as a kid. That was the first movie I ever remember watching. And it, so this concept of like, oh yeah, I would love it if my toys came to life too. And then I watched Child's Play, and I felt a little different about it. And it was kind of like, I remember there was times when I was a kid that I was like, I would almost make sure that I put all my toys away in a box. So I made sure like I wasn't kind of staring at one in the middle of the night and just kind of like looking at it sideways like it was going to get up. But yeah, so that was always fun. But there was all kinds of like even some sci-fi horror movies. So like the Alien franchise, the Predator franchise. Like I watched some of those movies, even if I wasn't necessarily supposed to. My mom makes me laugh. She was always like, why was he doing that? Like I don't think she loved the idea that we were watching this, but nonetheless, hey, it is what it is now, and I definitely have no regrets about it. But yeah, good times, good memories. And so now, like, I get to watch some of those movies again and revisit them. Like, it's tradition that I know for myself the last few years. Like, of course, I watched the original Michael Myers Halloween movie on Halloween, no matter what I'm doing, even if it's first thing in the morning. Like, it's a tradition for me to watch it for sure. And just to even watch some of the, obviously some of the new movies that have come out over the years. Like, every year there's at least a couple of horror movies, like Obsession being one of them. So we get to catch up on some of that stuff. So now, with that said, I have to break this down a little bit because, like I said, we just jumped into spooky season now, and unexpectedly, it wasn't necessarily a plan as far as the timing goes, but my girlfriend and I have been wanting to have a little movie date. I've been saying for a while now, like, I want to go to the movies more. Like, I miss going to the movies, which, by the way, got that AMC A-list membership again, so I'm so happy I have that. Can watch 4 movies a week in any format. By the way, AMC doesn't sponsor the show whatsoever. I'm just saying it's a great thing. I had it before, and I'm glad to have it back because now it's just going to be a perk to be able to go to the movies a lot. Anyways, we were like, yeah, let's go watch a movie, and then we realized, well, we still haven't seen Obsession. That's one of the movies we want to watch, and they're still showing it at our local theater. So we're like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go watch it. So we did. And at the time that I'm recording this, we literally just came back a few minutes ago from watching it. And let me tell you, it's been a while since I've watched a movie, and it truly terrified me. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I loved it. In a weird way, I did love the way this movie was made. And again, like, there's so many cool things about this movie. Just people have been talking about the fact that it was such a low budget movie. It was made for $750,000. I had to look it up because I couldn't remember exactly how much. $750,000. And it's already grossed, again, from today's date is the July 9th. The movie came out it came out 2 months ago, nearly, in May. It's made over $400 million, which, just to give in perspective, Sinners came out last year as one of the biggest successful films of the year. Oscar nominations, Oscar wins, all that. It didn't gross that much money. So not only did this director, Curry Barker, not only did this guy take this to the bank, but I mean, it just goes to show that, like, a creative vision and a creative story really goes a long way. And it doesn't take hundreds of millions of dollars to do it. And it's also why I kind of like the horror genre of filmmaking, is because I feel like it makes you really, like, if you want to really go somewhere with a story or make a fun new movie, like, you kind of have to really dig deep and make it something of your own, or make it original to a degree. And it's why I think a lot of these short films now are becoming successful, is because it's the idea that, like, they're more raw and edgy for sure, but they're also kind of like ideas that you haven't necessarily seen on repeat every year that it's spooky season, you know what I mean? Or like, you can't dig up a million movies that have told the same story. You might have similar premises here and there, but it's the idea, like, they really dive into a specific kind of like, just really messed up story or concept. Like, I know one thing that to me is always nice is when, like, you see a genre like horror, or even like a thriller type movie, where you have a concept of, like, let's say like a sci-fi, like a creature, but you don't know what the creature is, or what is the creature really, what does it look like? It's a mystery half the movie, but it tells it in a very unique way. Like, as an example, A Quiet Place. I love the premise of the fact that like you always have these horror movies where it's like it's about don't get caught, don't get seen, you're in the dark, or like it was more about like a visual fear, and then this movie became about sound and like survival. But what I like is, if you think about it, and for any of you who haven't seen A Quiet Place or don't know what I'm talking about, it's the film with John Krasinski, Jim from The Office, with his real life wife, Emily Blunt. And they have kids in the movie, and it's about like, you don't know how or what, but there's these creatures out there that have taken over the planet, and they basically they can't see, they only rely on sound to hunt. But like they're like so good at hearing, like you can't make the slightest noise. So they've adapted, they've survived this apocalypse, whatever, and they've had to live in this environment hiding from these creatures, and they have to like function as a regular family without, minus the noise. But what I love about that when I watch that movie is, like, if you think about a lot of horror movies or even thriller, sci-fi, whatever, there's a lot of moments in the movies where like there's a moment where like somebody's walking in a hallway and like they're trying to walk quietly because they don't want to like wake somebody up, or they don't want to like startle a creature that's coming after them or whatever, or like they're hiding from something, so they have to be quiet. It's the fact that that's like a momentary premise in a lot of these scary movies, but in that movie, that was the entire movie. So it kept you on edge in a way that like the movie hadn't really before, to a degree, So I liked that in a way. It was something new to kind of like put as an overall premise to the movie. So I really liked that. I thought that was pretty dope. But anyways, I digress. So we watch Obsession, and again, not only was it very terrifying, I think the performances in this movie, I mean, it was a small cast. They didn't need a lot of people, but the people, especially the main actor and actress, Michael Johnston played Bear, the main guy, and then Indy Navarrete, who played Nikki in the movie. My God, I mean, the lengths that she went just to kind of like have this very unsettling presence in the movie. And just to give you a quick synopsis too, like the movie's basically about kind of a group of friends, and there's one guy in the friend group that he kind of digs another girl in the friend group, and but he doesn't know how to tell her, and this and that, and he kind of just is hoping that maybe she likes him back. It's kind of like a typical, like if you have a crush or something, how do you handle it, whatever. And then he comes across this little like trinket, this little like collectible at one of those stores where like, they sell, and again, to each their own, right? But like, they sell all they're big on all the star signs and astrology. Is that what it's called? Gosh, I feel old already just trying to talk about it. But the signs, it's astrology, right? I feel like such an old fart just talking about it. Yes, astrology. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like, they sell specific kind of gems and stones and kinds of necklaces and scents and all this stuff, and he finds this little trinket collectible. It's called the One Wish Willow, where he can make a wish, and it's kind of one of those stories where be careful what you wish for, but it's like a very extreme, scary version of that. It's kind of what the premise of the movie is, but just the way the movie kind of found its different methods to creep you out, and especially in anticipation of things happening. Like, it wasn't just one of those, let me just jump scare you for a quick second and then you can kind of catch your breath. No, it was like, let me give you 2-3 minutes of anticipation, and then you're gonna be living in a really creepy jump scare moment for about a cool minute to two. Like, it was a very different way. Like, my heart was pounding half the movie. I could feel it. I was very aware of like how I was like, oh my God, like what the hell. But it was also just a very clever I guess, setup. The way that as you watch the movie, you're kind of like, you're so invested in just how messed up this story is, how this wish goes, and how this person kind of has to live with the consequence of what he's wished for. You really forget that there's, all this other stuff going on in the background, like there's other people in this story. You're so locked in on it. And to me, that was so impressive. Like, it takes a lot for you as an audience member to not even think about the fact, like, sometimes you're watching movies and you're like, there's so many characters, so many storylines, I don't know what to focus on, this and that. Like, they really did a good job of letting you just ease your way into focusing just on the two main characters. I mean, it was fantastic. I loved it. And I want to rewatch it. I feel like there's things to like try to pick up on. Like, I'm sure certain patterns or like hidden clues. It's definitely going to be a big rewatch during Halloween for sure. And how smart. I don't know if that was the plan, but this movie came out in the summer, and it's like once it comes out on like streaming or however you're going to get it, or if you're old school like me, try to find the DVD. It's like perfect for spooky season. So nonetheless, if you're one of the few people that haven't watched Obsession, because I know a lot of my friends, already checked it out. If you're into this kind of thing, these kinds of movies, I highly recommend it. Still got to see Backrooms though. That's the other one that I know was made for also a very much smaller budget, A24, small, more low key movie in terms of how it was made, and it turned out to be a pretty cool success. And now I'm hearing that there's other like internet sensation, like creepy stories that are getting greenlit by studios to make these movies. So it just goes to show, like, people are finding new creative ways to tell some of these stories, and it's really dope. Now I'm gonna address, and forgive me for taking a sip here, but I have to say too, like, I talk a lot about motivation here and stuff, and it kind of almost doesn't seem to add up a little bit with the idea that I'm really into this kind of genre, these kind of films. But it was so interesting that, I don't know, probably a couple weeks ago, I don't know what I was looking up, because I tend to like just randomly ask like ChatGPT or Gemini or what, anything, AI, to kind of like just ask like, what's the psychology of this? What's a habit of this? Or what is this? Is this a symptom of something? Which I know when I say that, and I have that bad habit sometimes. If I feel a little sick, I look up like, what is this a symptom of? And then like, it's like any little thing. Oh, I have a stuffy nose, but I'm getting a headache in the front of my head. What does that mean? And it's kind of saying, oh, you might have not much time left. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, let me not go down this rabbit hole. But I was reading something about how it might have even just been on Instagram, something that came up about like, if you're into, or like if you're going through something, if you're going through like a state of like depression or like like high stress, sometimes you are drawn to a distraction that might evoke very different emotions than what you're used to. You might even lean into some of the emotions that you're feeling, but like in a different format. So like in this case for me, I mentioned earlier that I got into watching a lot of horror movies and spent a lot of time like watching some of these movies during the pandemic. And like a lot of us, we all went through a lot at that time. The world went through a lot at that time. And I was also going through some personal stuff. But like, I noticed that I was like, there was an uptick of me getting into a lot of these movies. And it definitely was a distraction, but I didn't realize that it was almost a subconscious thing where it was like, okay, I like to be this motivational person. I like to try to be, a positive person in the room. I don't like to bring the room down by any means, or let that feed into other people. But when I was alone, like that's another thing, I would always watch these movies alone. Now, don't get me wrong, part of that was, I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and I really didn't know many people that were into movies like that as it was, so they probably wouldn't sit down with me and watch them. But it was also like I kind of liked that that privacy of like watching them just me on my own. But it was interesting because that I'm reading this little post or whatever, and it's saying that a lot of times it's like a very human thing to lean into things that maybe are the opposite of what you try to evoke on a regular basis. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess that kind of makes sense. That's probably why I got into some of these movies. But also I did notice that, like, because even today, some of the horror movies that I'm not a huge fan of, like I like the classic slasher movies, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, like the classics, right? But like I'm not a huge fan. Like I'm not drawn to a horror movie that's just about like just murdering people or like just bloody gore. Like if it's just that, yeah, I might, if there's a hype about it and people want to go, like, I guess, but it doesn't get my attention like that. Like, for instance, a big, people made a big deal about Terrifier, which was like this killer clown that has become like such a sensation. Like, look, and I've talked about this before, I love going to horror nights at Universal Studios. It's like, all the mazes and all that. Like, it's a perfect way for me to, like, it's one of the biggest things you could do during spooky season, during Halloween. But something like, they brought Terrifier, that character, around, and it was like cool to see the character, because it's like a movie character coming to life. But like, I wasn't invested in it, so I was kind of like, yeah, that's cool, I guess, for the sake of the scare at the theme park. But something about the movie itself, it being crafted like that, to me, it just kind of feels like you're just looking for new ways to kind of do some like really messed up shit on film and just make money on it. But to each their own. Again, some people like that stuff, just not me. And another thing too that I really found interesting with some of these scary movies was like, if it had a really like, for instance, one of my favorite franchises was and still is the Conjuring franchise. But it wasn't just because it was like, don't get me wrong, some of these movies, they also found really cool ways to be creepy and different ways to scare you. Like, you could tell they got real tactical and like, how can we find different things to put on the wall and like, creep people out in ways that they haven't seen on film, or even using special effects to do some things. And it was pretty dope. But I think what was even cooler to me, about what made me enjoy it so much, there was a mystery element to it. And I've learned over the years that like, I'm really into movies that keep you guessing and like you're trying to figure out and solve whatever's going on, even if it's not like a murder mystery, but just movies like that in general. And I was like, okay, I think that's why I'm also invested in some of these movies. And I have to say, like, sometimes when you really don't know, like, you don't know what the next move is in the movie, to me, you got my attention already. And like, with the Conjuring movies, they did that. Some of the spin-offs, like some of the Annabelle movies and stuff, like, yeah, they had, they were extensions of those movies, but it was all right. But the Conjuring movies, and again, for anybody who hasn't watched them, it's about a couple in real life who were like paranormal investigators. Like, they were doing this for a living, as a couple too, mind you. Talk about a power couple. Like, that was their entire profession. And I think they both have since passed, but like the couple, their house still exists. It's a museum now with a bunch of haunted artifacts. Would I go there? Maybe not. But it's still something that I think is just very intriguing, that they invested their lives to studying, understanding what this stuff was, and helping people too. You could tell that a big part of their interest in that line of work was they liked helping people and like giving them a sense of reassurance or safety or whatever it was. And to me, like, hey, you got to give somebody credit when that's part of their motivation, is to try to help somebody. So, but to know that this was a real life couple, and even if they, Hollywood did their Hollywood thing to movie up the story a little bit, it was still cool that they got exposure to learn that there's people out there that do that. And whether you believe it or not, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm one of those people that, like, I can't say for certain that I've seen a ghost or anything like that, but I will tell you this, I respect the concept enough not to fuck with it. That's the way I look at it. I don't know what spirits or whatever might be lurking, or if they're not. I do know this, though. I am not a person that's going to test that theory and not respect it. You're not going to see me playing with the Ouija board. You're not going to see me trying to cast no spells and all that. In the hell nah. I am not doing that. Because here's my thing. Call me crazy. If there's a chance that it's real and you're not sure, like, you're not 100% sure. I don't think any of us truly are 100% sure. Why try it? That's my thing. Why gamble on it? Now, again, also, I'm speaking from a perspective that I'm not a big gambler to begin with in life. So maybe that's easy for me to say. But that's also my theory, is like, people mess around with it like it's no big deal. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're so sure that it doesn't concern you, I mean, I guess go for it. But I mean, if you're not 100% sure, why would you just, I don't know. That's just me. Because I know people that play with a Ouija board like it's nothing, like it's a game of Battleship or some shit. I don't know. Not I. But the other thing too is, because there's been movies made about some of that stuff, and I'll still watch them to a degree, but I'm still kind of watching them like, it couldn't be me. They got what they were asking for. I kind of don't feel, you watch some horror movies and you're kind of like, dang, this person didn't make it through the movie. Like, that kind of sucks. I watch a movie like Ouija and I'm like, well, you kind of invited it though, so I don't feel bad. And that's when I'm kind of like, well, good thing this is a fiction movie, because I don't feel bad for anybody in this movie. But yeah, man, I mean, there's so many cool things to me about Halloween 2. I will say the other element is like, especially coming from a Hispanic heritage, like being of Mexican, descent, like Dia de los Muertos is also a really cool thing to me. That's the other side of it that I think why I kind of embrace sometimes some of this scary stuff. Like I think subconsciously I'm also telling myself like some of this scary stuff doesn't have to be as scary as we make it to be. For the sake of craft and like filmmaking, it's a new way to like kind of stimulate your brain and the way you watch things. But like, excuse me, I also feel like there's a side to it that can be very lighthearted. Like, for instance, I love when a scary movie isn't just serious the whole time. Like, I love it when there's comedy in it too. And sometimes you're just like, I'm trying to think. Like, for instance, Get Out, which isn't like the scariest movie in the world, but I mean, it's got its moments where you're like hell no. And I think that's what I like about all the Jordan Peele movies that he's made so far. All three of them. What is it? Get Out, Us, and then Nope. That all those movies have like funny elements to them. And you kind of have, and it makes it a human moment too. Like, I'll never forget in Get Out where the TSA agent in the movie, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The main character, who goes to his white girlfriend's family's house, and it's like all creepy and shit. Everyone's asking him about his anatomy and asking her about what it's like to be with him and this and like, really creepy. And then you realize what kind of messed up shit is really going on. But he has a friend who's a TSA agent, and he's constantly calling him like, hey man, even before he goes to the family's house, he's like, hey man, listen, wouldn't be me. I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. It sounds like you're getting set up. Like, and there's kind of like this real, like a different perspective, almost like the audience kind of speaking into its own, like as its own character. I think it's pretty dope that they bring elements into it like that. And to me, that makes it real in a way too, is that you kind of realize that even in scary moments, there's a time where you kind of like laugh at certain things. You kind of at least are led to try to laugh at it because you don't want it to be just all scary and all serious. And it kind of just creates a cool, comfortable balance, I guess. It makes it sometimes a little digestible too when certain things happen. But I mean, people say it, laughter is healing. But yeah, I mean, oh gosh. And I was even thinking, because like I knew I was gonna record this episode after watching Obsession, and I was like, there's so many movies that have, especially scary movies, that have really stimulated my way of thinking. Like, because I even talked about, like I just mentioned, the idea of like there being a mystery. Like, there's certain mystery, like murder mystery movies that I love, that have made me think. Like, for instance, Knives Out, one of my favorite movies of all time, I think. And it's a really cool murder mystery movie. But it's the idea that you blend that with a very scary environment that, as it is when you're in a scary, like, picture it this way. If you've ever done an escape room, I recently just did one for the very first time with my family. We did it for Father's Day, actually, with my dad. It was a gift to him, but we all did it. My girlfriend, myself, my sister, and my brother-in-law, and then my parents. The six of us did it together. And it was a pretty, like, it wasn't a scary one. It was a pretty, like, straightforward premise. We were like pretending like we were basically like prisoners, like in a jail cell. We had to break ourselves out. We had to work as a team, but it wasn't like creepy or anything. And you think about how complicated that is, right? You kind of have to work together. It takes a lot of patience, concentration. You got to think, outside the box a little bit. That can already be pretty damn difficult as it is. Now put yourself in a scary ass situation. You turn the damn lights off. You put some creepy music on, or even, real life doesn't necessarily play creepy music, but like you hear creepy shit in the background. You hear voices. I don't know. Doesn't that make it so much more difficult? Like, that would make it 10 times harder for me. So to me, when you can blend that in a movie, that's why I think it's also very interesting. Is like, like, how the hell are you going to solve a mystery? I can't, dude. Like, we were in that escape room, and gives you an opportunity to like take a hint every once in a while. We wouldn't have been able to get out of there if we hadn't taken a hint every once in a while. Man, real life, You think those paranormal investigators in The Conjuring were going to be able to get a hint? They couldn't, phone a friend in that. Like, they just had to figure it out. And to me, I think that's what's also so interesting about it. So, and then just the way, like, another thing about this movie Obsession that I really appreciated was they took advantage a lot of, like, lighting and, like, the angles they shot from. And, like, that's one of the things that I really have enjoyed and appreciated about filmmaking as I got older. Watching movies is like, damn, the way you set a camera up and you set up lighting, like, it's so clever. And it makes you look at things differently. Like, one of the things in this movie that was really, there was a way to make the main actress kind of, very intimidating and creepy, because this it's not like this girl is like 6'5". Like, she's a tiny thing. But she's walking around and there's points in the movie where you're watching her and you're just like, oh, I'm terrified. Like, I don't know if I would survive this. And you think, and like me, like I'm not super tall. I'm 5'10", and I probably got some pounds on her. Like, she's a skinny thing, and I'm like, I don't stand a chance. There's no way I would make it. But it's the way they shoot the movie. Like, there's even times where she's like standing in a doorway, and like, but the light is behind her, so you can't see her face. Like, you can kind of make out, as you're in the dark longer, the longer you're in the dark, you kind of start to be able to see things. Your eyes adjust, but like, you can't see most of her face. You mainly see her hair, and like she's kind of moving a little weird. And I'm like, yeah, man, and that doesn't cost much. It's just creativity. It's just the way your mind works. And then you mix that with some great ass acting, somebody who really selling the performance. Like, nah, yeah, you sold me. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably be talking about this movie for a couple weeks, and I gotta watch it again. I know there's definitely things that I want to be able to pick up on, or point out. I'm trying to think. Oh, I know what I was going to mention too, because I think jumping into spooky season, there's some things that I'm really looking forward to. We're gonna obviously try to decorate a little bit in here, make the apartment a little bit more, I know it's still summer a little bit. We might take our time. We still got to go check out some of the stores. I think, what is it, like Hobby Lobby puts some stuff out. I know even like Ross or Marshall's or a lot of these places, even like Target or Walmart, I start seeing all that stuff. Probably look at some decorations, because I feel like the time's going to fly by, and then Halloween's going to be here next thing you know. I mean, 113 days sounds like a lot, but I can't believe we're already more than halfway into 2026. I feel like I still got used to writing that down, but yeah, it's gonna be around the corner, and I'm obviously very excited to see what else comes up. I'm hoping to go to Horror Nights again. The thing with Horror Nights, though, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it's like, to me, it's not worth it unless you get the express ticket. Now, let me break this down for any of you who have gone, or maybe who haven't checked this out before and haven't gone to this experience. So Horror Nights is obviously the whole Halloween, the park opens up in the later hours, and they do all the mazes, and they bring in all kinds of even movies and TV shows that have come up recently. And they use all the movie magic. They use their sound stages at Universal Studios. It's a full studio lot, so they put together all the set pieces and all that stuff, and it's obviously about as real as it's ever going to get in terms of you not actually experiencing the real thing. And as someone who likes movies, it's just kind of cool even to see how they do it sometimes and how they set everything up. But obviously, with the mazes, it's become so popular, and with the movies they bring in, the lines, man, the lines are insane. Like, I think the last time, and this is not me flexing, this is just me, because I'm like, there's very few things I splurge, money wise, like that I splurge for, and this is one of them. This is like one of the 3 things every year that I will try to splurge on, because, I'm obviously really into it. But like, I think the last time I didn't pay for like the front of the line ticket was probably like before COVID. And even the lines weren't as bad then. The last 2 years, I remember I've gone and I've seen wait times that are like 3 hours. And mind you, the event starts like at, I think the early entry starts like at 5 or 6 p.m., but the bases don't open, I think, until like 6. And the event runs until like 2 a.m., I think, 1 or 2 in the morning. So picture that. It's 6 to 8 hours. If you're waiting 3 hours in line first of all, by the time you get to the front, is it worth it? But also, you're going to go, I don't care if you pay only $60-$70 compared to the express ticket. You're going to pay that money just to go to 2-3 mazes, and more than the mazes you do are going to last you a total of 5 minutes. But the other 6 hours you were in line, nah, that's crazy to me. To me, it's not worth it. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm definitely not like hating on anybody who doesn't have the budget to do it. They want to go at least experience something. So hey, again, to each their own. Like, I'm not mad at you for that. But to me, it's just so crazy that you got to deal with that. I personally don't see it as worth it. So that's why I'm like, you know what? I will save money all year, just to try to get that express ticket, because it's just worth it that way. Like, you just save yourself so much time. You enjoy the experience too, because it's not just mazes. There's all kinds of other characters walking around. There's all kinds of cool food and drinks to try, and you can take your time too. There's all kinds of decorations and stuff they do for the park. Even some of the rides are still open, like during the horror night hours. They still have some of the rides open, so you can take advantage. This year I'm excited too, because hopefully if we get to go, if you get the express, I think most of the tickets, maybe just certain tickets like the express ticket, I don't know, but the express is the front of the line ticket. This summer is, I don't know if it officially opened already or it's about to, the new Fast and Furious roller coaster that they just put up. So some of that stuff comes included too, so like, why not? The crazy shit is there's like they call it this version of VIP tour, they call it the RIP tour. That's like $700 per person. That's a little insane. I'll become a millionaire and then I'll pay for that, but I don't think right now that's kind of crazy money to spend. And the funny thing too, that when I go to some of these events, like Horror Nights being probably my favorite one, like full disclaimer, like I worked at Universal for a little bit. I worked there for like about a year, and I worked there in Burbank. And I remember when that time of year came around, it was so interesting because, when they hire for the scare actors, I don't know what it's like now, but, this was a few years ago that I was there, that, man, like the way people audition, the way the setup is, like, because some of the people that are the scare actors in these mazes that are playing these characters, for some of these people, they're building their resume as actors, as producers, or whatever, because they're a part of technically a production. It's just maybe not a full-length movie, but it's a production. So that's why they get so into being the characters and auditioning and this and that, because it's kind of like they're building their resume. But the things that they go through even to audition, like they literally put them on a stage or in a room with like other people and just say, act like this kind of creature, or make these noises, or hey, picture you're in this setting at this time and you feel this, or this is your, and then they just let them go. They start acting in around all these other people, and you basically, these production heads or whatever, like they start picking apart the people they really like. And it's so funny to me, because then it's like, they're getting a really cool experience, the people that I'm sure do this, but I've also heard that some of them are just so exhausted because, they got maybe other day jobs, or, the fact that they have to sit even sometimes in a couple hours of makeup in prep for that. And it's not even a movie. So it's just so crazy. And that's why too, like when I go there, I'm also appreciating like all the effort that went behind the scenes just to put this together. I mean, they're putting up these mazes almost year round. Like, I want to say once Horror Nights is over, which is usually at the very end of October, maybe the first week of November, they still have a couple of days. And then after that, like, they maybe take a couple of months, like, they set everything up for Christmas and New Year's and all that. I want to say that by, like, February, they're already, like, they've already by then taken down all the facades and buildings and structures and everything. By, like, February, they're already laying the groundwork for the new ones because it just takes time. And also, they want to, they want to test stuff out. They want to see what works, what doesn't. So, it's a process. And also the people that are in charge of like the blueprints and seeing what ideas they're going to use for the following year, like they already know at least a year in advance what's coming to the following, Horror Nights season. So it's well thought out and it's well planned. Like, I know, Stranger Things season 5, the final season, came out last year. They already knew that was going to come out to Horror Nights this coming year, which we're very much looking forward to. Hopefully, again, if we get to go, that'll be a really cool thing to watch, because we were very invested in that show. But again, it's just really dope, to see how they set all that up. So looking forward to that. I think the other things that we're really looking forward to for spooky season is we want to go check out, like, there's cool like bars and speakeasies that, pop up just for Halloween. Cool different kinds of pumpkin patches too that are really nice. And even like just random little pop-ups. Like there's a couple coffee spots that kind of turn their place, for Halloween, or that's just kind of like even, Halloween year round. There's a place in, I want to say it's Long Beach, called Fourth Horseman, or the Four Horsemen, something like that. Fellow podcast buddy of mine, Miles Darling, again, go check out Sorta Interesting Podcast. Got to give them a shout out. They're a full-time MCU podcast. They're reviewing all the Marvel movies leading up to Avengers Doomsday in December. So go check them out. Sorta Interesting Podcast. My buddy Miles, who's one of the hosts of that show, he, we've been buddies for a while, and he, we went to Long Beach with them one time. We just went into this place just to go use the restroom, but it's a really cool pizza spot, and it's decorated like horror genre year round. And I know there's coffee spots out there and stuff that are, even like just kind of like light decoration. It's kind of just a theme. Like I know in Anaheim, they have what's called the Villains Brewery. I've been there before, but it's really cool. They just have really cool graffiti art and artwork of like different horror like icons and stuff. It's cool. All the taps on all the handles on the taps, the beer taps, they all have like different cool like horror genre like characters and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So I'm hoping to do that. This is a lot to look forward to. Love me some spooky season stuff, and it's just the fall, man. I'm a sucker for fall. I'm not loving this heat right now. We're gonna be going to Vegas in a couple of weeks, so being in Vegas during the heat, man, that's gonna be something. That is gonna be something. Well, listen, again, I don't make the rules. It is spooky season now. I'm going to be keeping this countdown going up until Halloween, and I'm going to keep you all posted on whatever else we got going on. All things leading up to Halloween, any movies that we watch, whether it's new things or just kind of revisiting. I also want to see what movies my girlfriend hasn't seen yet that we can probably revisit or watch. She's into scary movies. Her thing is the blood. That's kind of what she has a hard time with sometimes. And again, it kind of works out because not that I don't like it or I can't watch it. It's just more like it's not my preferred type of scary movie. But there's always a lot of really cool like new things that pop up scary movie wise that I want to be able to revisit or just to kind of jump into. So it's a fun season. But nonetheless, I before I hop on out of here, I have to make sure I mention too that in leading up to the Spider-Man Brand New Day and us having, again, we're going to be having our very first guest here. I'm going to be watching all the Spider-Man movies. I'm going to encourage my brother-in-law to do the same if he can. But we're going to be watching all those. Also, the animated Spider-Man movies. My girlfriend has not seen yet, so we're going to start watching the Spider-Verse, the first one, Into the Spider-Verse. We're going to watch both those. That'll be a good time. And then we're also going to try to maybe rewatch like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies at least together leading up to Brand New Day. So that'll be a good time. But leading up to the episode that I'm going to record here in just a couple of weeks, I want to know from all of you, and please give me a chance. Comment on this, put in whatever suggestions you can, and let me know what kind of things should me and Daniel talk about. Is there certain questions you want us to answer, certain topics you want us to jump into? Hey, no wrong answers here. Trust me. If I don't want to talk about it, I'll just toss it out the bucket. But don't worry. We want to take some suggestions and ideas. And no idea is a bad idea in this sense. So we want to be able to take advantage and just we want to hear what you want to hear from us. We want to have a good time with it. So very much looking forward to that, and hope you all tune in. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I wanted to have just kind of a fun time, and I was excited about jumping into spooky season now. We're literally just in it. I mean, it's July, but think about it. October's 3 months away. September's really when it starts to kick off, so that's really only 2 months away. and it's already in the store, so you basically just might as well accept it already. So if nobody else is going to be your Halloween point of contact, I got you covered. So other than that, though, looking forward to the next episode. Have a couple of good episodes even leading up to our next bonus episode, having the first guest on, having Daniel to join this conversation. But I hope all of you are doing well, staying cool out there. If you have any other suggestions for the podcast in general, what do you think of the setup? Anything that you'd like to see? Anybody you'd like to see me talk to? Any topics or anything you'd want to hear me talk about? Let me know, and I'll be happy to take a look and somehow bring it into the show. So I appreciate every single one of you. Go check out any episodes you haven't checked out already, and otherwise, more to come on the podcast. And I look forward to talking to you next. So I'll see you on the next episode.